Yes, I'm in the process of converting over these acoustic drums over to a electric set of drums. These drums are the very first set that I ever had. They're just a low-end pearl set of drums, a learner set I call it. And I will be going through this as I build or convert these drums over. As we begin the conversion of the drums to electric, we will begin with making our own mesh heads. Now, before we even get into this, and I have already filmed some of this, and after sewing a few, I found out that I started out with the drum heads just a little too tight. This one here was something else to get bolted on. And I thought, well, there's got to be an art to this to give me just a little bit of space to get these things bolted on easier. And so what I came up with, and whatever works for you, a milk jug lead would work, but I had this piece of wood which will be used in the drum project later on. And we will put a ring down on here. Now, a little tip, the side that you cut the head off on is the side that I put toward the mesh. These here are got rounded corners, and to me it just works better when you fold this around. And then after, what you want to do though is starting out, you want that in the middle, centered up, and I will put these zip ties in each corner, one here, and then I will go over to this corner, then back here, and back here, and then once I get these, I will put some in between, keeping this amount of space, this little spacer, giving me a little space. If you notice when you cut your drum heads off, you had about a 1/4 of an inch or a little less of the drum head sticking up. So this is the ideal, is give it a little play for the bolts to start easier. And we will continue on with the drum build. The screen that I used is simply screen mesh that is used to put in your screen door. Perhaps as you open your front door, usually most people have screen doors, and this is the screen that you would use. This is the heavy duty type that, you know, protects from your pets scratching and letting you know that they won't back in the house. It's cold outside, you know. I've done my thing, let me in. And this is the size that you use. Should be plenty enough to do a 5-piece drum set, which mine will be a 14-inch tom and a 14-inch snare. 10, let's see, I think it's a 12, 13, 16-inch tom and a 22-inch bass. So that's kind of start off with this drum project, and as we go along we will go over it. Okay, what we will do, we will take a regular set of acoustic drum heads that came off the drums, and what we will do, we will cut this off around through there, and then you want to smooth it up, and then what we will come up with is this rim. And you can see through there where I had it'll have a little edge on it here, and it's kind of got a sharp corner. To me, I wanted that smoother because it could damage or cut the mesh that we were putting on there. And we will start with this rim, and as we will go into the project, we will get more into it. Okay, now we've got our mesh cut out, and you want to allow plenty of room out from the head here to where you can fold it over and have plenty of room to sew it. And I allowed a little more, but about 1.5 inches would be plenty enough. But still, I like a little room to give. I don't like to be so cut so close that, like this, that you have trouble getting the thread through. So that's why I allowed myself a little room to play with there. And I'm going to try to thread this stinking needle and get ready to sew them up. And the type twine that we use, you want to be careful. Here's one type, and I'm going to show you what happens. It's easy broken. So we don't want to use this type. It's a cotton twine, but that is one way to test it. So that was a way to test it. Now this here, as you can see, very strong. This is the thread that we will use, which is called carpenter's twine, which you will see as they will use them in chalk lines. Okay, I finally got this stinking needle threaded, and you want a good size needle, especially with a good size hole in it, because that thing is sticking hard to get in there. And the way you see I done it is I ran it through and then knotted it right here. To me, it kind of works a little better than having it all right here knotted up. It kind of pulls through a little better. So you do want a good size needle, and I will tie this off in each corner with zip ties. You will need 4 of those, small kinda. You want it to where it will fit through that the mesh hose, and we will tie that, fold it down and tie it in each corner. We'll run it through and zip tie it here, 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 and here. That makes it, that keeps it stretched out enough for you to sew it. It makes the sewing it a heck of a lot easier. In my case, I don't like sewing. Although my 9th grade year, I did get stuck with home ec for a semester, and I learned to somewhat sew. So now it's paying off. I can do my own drum heads, right? Well, let me move right along with the drum project. As you can see, we have got our zip ties around, you know, in 4 different places in each corner. As you can see, I put one here, here, and here. And as you fold this and sew it, it makes it a heck of a lot easier as you work your way around this here thing. And a little tip on when you roll off the string that you will be sewing the drum heads with, they actually make this stuff in black, and you can buy it in black, but I didn't have it and I forgot to pick it up. But the thing about black is everything's black. You can't see where you've been and what you've done. And so I had this white from a porch project that we added on, or build us a new porch, and we had the string left over for that project. So of course I will use this. And for reasons I already had it, and for other reasons, when you run it through, you can see where you've been. And when it's all said and done, though, and I will show you later on that what I'm going to do. But when we are finished with this, we will take a marker and mark this, will dye or color it the color of the head. And you won't even know that it's there, right? But a little tip on when you roll this off. What I do, I roll it around the drum head. You can see I start here and I stop here and I overlap it about 1/4 of a way, and that gives me enough of string to sew this mesh head onto this rim for this drum. And that allows me to have enough, because it will, sometimes the string will wire right here because it's against a metal needle, and sometimes as strong as it is, it will pull out. So this is where we're at now. And now I got to do the dreadful sewing, although I got the stinking needle threaded, so maybe the sewing won't be that bad. And to start this sewing off, as we know, we will fold it And as you can see, I have ran the thread in one hole right here, and then this right beside of it, I have ran it back through close to this. And the reason why is I'm going to tie it off here, and as I put a knot here, that will allow it to hopefully to pull through where you this knot it and pull it up again, which that's fine, and that does allow a little more room for your head to when it goes on the drum shell. So, but this way I have learned that it's a little stronger this way. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to put a knot in it and get the sewing around this thing. And you can see we have our knot in the head itself. So I just need to go all the way around this thing. So let's get with it. As you can see, we have our drums sewn up. Now as you are sewing this, you want to pull it snug as possible down to the other mesh on the other side. You just want to try to get it as tight as possible. And after you're done, we will trim away the little zip ties, which they're gone, and we will trim the excess off, which you can kind of get an idea of what I left there. About 1/4 of an inch from your thread. I like a little bit to where maybe perhaps it won't pull through. And as you can see, we have sewn around. And when you're sewing this, don't sew it right up against the rim of the head. Step back. See, you can see a hole in between the rim of the head and where I ran the thread, and that allows it to pull down good and flush, or if you're right up against it, it don't pull down as good. And if you're not careful, you can get these a little too tight, and when you go to put these bolts in the head, it will be something else to try to get those suckers in. And as you can see, I'm coloring them right now. There's the white, there's the black, as I use this marker. You can tell it a little bit, but when you step off from it, see, you cannot tell it. And once the rim's around it and it's all buttoned up, everything will be fine. So that gives you an idea of building your own mesh heads. And as we will continue on with this video, we will cover the rest of the drums.